Hello there folks, welcome to Shots Fired Airsoft, and in today's video I've got something quite pretty for you. Now this is from Bespoke Airsoft. It is part of their affordable customs line, or ACL line, and this is an SAI Glock, essentially Salient Arms International. Don't believe it's licensed, but I do believe it's sort of like an aftermarket build, and it's based on an Army Armament R17. Viewers of the channel will know that I like the the AA R17. It's a bit early in the morning for me to say Army Armaments over and over again. And this one is essentially externally heavily modified, and it looks fantastic. It's still very affordable. It is still an Army Armament Glock, so the internals are going to be relatively cheap. However, the actual, well, you'll see in a sec when I open the box, the pistol itself looks very trick and has numerous advantages over the standard R17. It comes in this rather functional black pistol box. We don't have too much on the black pistol box. It is just a black pistol box, but it is nice, and it is always nice, in my opinion, to get a pistol case of a weapon, because let's face it, they're always handy for carrying everything in, whether it be the gun that was intended or anything else you might have. So I'm just going to hop in here. And as you can see, we have the weapon, the magazine, and under this side of the foam, just to confirm, it is based on an Army Armament R17. We have our little Army Armament safety sheet, general use instructions, how to operate safety. So this is actually for a high capper, although there is a Glock in there. So it is just a general sort of safety sheet. There isn't really anything specific to the gun. I say these aren't really aimed at necessarily like first time buyers. You would probably just buy an Army Armament standard Glock for that, which would have all the documentation in. Getting onto the magazine, it's all been in the plastic with oil in it. It's got marks on it, but yeah, this is a standard Army Armament Glock mag. Something you would have seen in the R17-5 unboxing that I did a little while ago. Yeah, they're good mags, they're okay. The valves in them aren't that fantastic. You'll see in the last video when I used the double bell Glock mag, it gave us like a 20-30 FPS advantage over one of these and was very consistent. But they are a nicely built mag, they feel well made. I very rarely have problems. I have about 4 of these mags and I've never really had an issue with it leaking. Unlike, say, the cheaper end of the spectrum, the Raven mags are terrible for leaking. Every single one I've ever come across has had an inlet valve leak, and then when you replace the inlet valve they leak again within about 5 minutes. So yeah, so they're a good mag. Plastic feed lips, full metal body, plastic base plate, removable by pushing the button and sliding it off. Obviously gas goes in the bottom like every other sort of gas blowback pistol, and it is a Tokyo Mirai replica, so you do have the curved gas router on top, unlike the WE that's a flat square gas router. Anyway, to move along to the bit we're all interested in, the lovely SAI Glock. And if I just wipe off the oil from the internals of the bag, I'm quite glad to get rid of the bag. So, what have we got here? Right, we've got a Salient Arms International slide and outer barrel, marked 9x19. It does actually have the Glock logo on, and then it's got SAI embossed on the side, SAA through the cutout and the slide at the top, fibre optic front sight, threaded front barrel. Let's make sure I can see that. Yep. We have a standard-ish looking frame until you get to all the stippling on it. This stippling is hand done. Apparently it takes quite a while. And the other thing we have is we have a flat trigger as opposed to the curved usual Glock one that we have. Slide itself, lots of serrations and markings. Very nice action. We have a standard blacked out rear sight to go with your fibre optic front sight. And that's really about it. We have no markings on the frame. I say this is an Army Armament frame. And indeed, if I just pop the top off for the slide, you will see we have the R17 marking that all R17s have on the bottom of the slide. And this is actually on the sight block at the rear, sort of like the ass end of the slide pretty much. So as you can see in here, apart from the outer barrel, it is very R17. If I just pull up the spare R17 I've got that I reviewed a little while ago, you'll see the similarities. And there we are. So there are differences. This is based on like my old R17. So the hop's black. We have a slightly different rear sight the way it sits. So one's got a flush screw, the other's got a screw that sticks out. Obviously this is a standard plastic slide, plastic outer barrel. But I say this is the new style of slide. This is based on the old style of slide, which is more like my R17 that I use in gameplay. This slide has actually really quite good performance. So this is essentially a dressed up standardish Army Armament 17 from what I can tell. I don't know if there's further internal modifications. I'm going to go ahead and suggest there probably isn't. However, the slide itself does appear to have slightly different internals in the way it runs with the hammer, because it's different. It is different to this one, and it's also different to my personal R17 that I run in gameplay. So either this is a third different revision of R17, or it is a custom job, which I'd be highly surprised about, given that this pistol is only around £110, even though it contains the Tati SAI pieces. But anyway, just to go back to what we were originally talking about, this stippling is fantastic. It's really well done. There it is all over the pistol. You've got ambidextrous index finger rests, so you've got 1 and 2. Although the gun is not ambidextrous, however, if you were left-handed, there is a nice grippy area to leave your index finger when you're not on the trigger. There's also grip underneath, and obviously the entire grip is stippled out, so that's lovely, and it has a really comfortable feel to it. Obviously with gloves on you wouldn't notice the scratching and that on your hand, but all in all it is a very nice looking and feeling weapon, and that trigger pull is really nice. The flat trigger changes the gun quite a lot. I wouldn't mind one of those triggers for my my gameplay Glock. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring in the scales and we're going to weigh it in comparison to the standard R17. Okay, so we're in at 472 grams for the SAI Glock from Army Armament, or ACL from Bespoke Airsoft. And if I just pop this back together, we have 401 grams for the standard R17 from Army Armament. One thing that does interest me is how much heavier is the SAI slide, and is it going to affect performance too much? You've got 165 grams for the standard R17 slide and 229 for the SAI slide. So we do suffer a bit of a weight penalty of about 90 grams. No, sorry, not 90 grams. About 60 grams going from the plastic to the metal slide. Is it going to affect firing performance? Well, we'll have to see that in the shooting test. However, I think it's a reasonable price to pay for the tartiness and the fact that this looks like a 300 quid Glock. And it isn't. So, last thing I'm going to do is pick up the mag. We have got gas in. Mag insertion is nice. One of the things this does seem to lack is a flared mag well, which would have been a nice touch. However, nothing's going to stop you adding one. If you do want to add a flared mag well. Right, locks back nice. Got a nice authoritative clack on the way back in. And the gun is empty, mag's empty. Here we go. Very nice pop. If I just hold that down, and no problem with repeat shots. Nice and quick cycling action despite the extra weight of the metal slide. Yeah, I think that's going to be quite a satisfying weapon to use. Right, so I'm going to leave that there. This will be the next shooting test on the channel. I say internally it's an AA Glock as far as I'm aware. The frame does appear to be slightly different, however it could just be another revision of the R17 that I haven't seen before. The slide is lovely, the stippling is really nice, the flat trigger is nice, and I say these are from a specific retailer in the UK called Bespoke Airsoft. They do ship worldwide, so if people do fancy one of these, they can get one. I would much rather have a fancy version of an AA Glock than I would, say, a Raven. So like a Vorsk or a or one of the fancier Raven Glocks. I just don't think they're very good. I'm going to have to get one on the channel at some point and pass comment on it. However, everyone I've seen in the wild, the mags leak, or if it's the 18, it blows itself to bits. You know, essentially the Ravens are based on what's called a Yansan, as far as I'm aware. And they are full-blown, like 30 quid Chinese replicas that they gussy up and then sell over here for like 70 quid, 80 quid. I'm not going to badmouth them unduly because, you know, I could get one and it could be the best thing in the world when I review it on the channel. But for the minute, my AA Glocks are my preferred weapon of choice. This will be Tokyo Mirror compatible as well. That's the other thing about it. So you've got the slide, you've got the outer barrel, the internals are AA, but you can easily pull them out and you can put whatever you want out of the Tokyo Mirror back catalogue of upgrades in this, in which case you have one that looks very trick inside and out. So I've been Ben with the Shots Fired Airsoft video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you and goodbye.